Welcome to the Kindness Project, the podcast designed to share stories of kindness and share how kindness can make positive change in our world, one small act at a time.
This episode was recorded live on Facebook. In this week's episode of the Kindness Project, we talk about sleep, chocolate, and we have part 2 of our interview with Abby Barmby from Yorkshire Air Ambulance.
Hello and welcome to another action-packed, hopefully, episode of the Kindness Project. I'm joined by a girl who apparently can't get no sleep. It's Charlotte Dames. How you doing, Charlotte?
I'm good. I'm okay. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Now, this is a weird version of the Kindness Project because even though we've been doing it remotely whilst you've been studying up in Glasgow, this is the first live we've done with us apart. The last live we did was during lockdown, wasn't it?
Yeah, we used to do them all the time.
We did. We absolutely did. Tell me what's going on in your life.
I am at uni.
No, I know where you are. Tell the audience, particularly the audience of podcast viewers that didn't know you were at uni, the ones that normally watch the lives, what have you been up to?
I've been plodding along, working on my stuff. I am currently taking a weekend chill because I've just finished all of my first set of assignments.
You're a student of your life's chill, isn't it?
No, it's mostly reading. A lot of reading. And so starting back up Monday, it'll be starting on the next set. Because I've got deadlines coming up again.
Is one of your reading lists the Kindness Project by Chris Dames?
No.
New plug. What?
No, it's not.
Why is the Kindness Project by Chris Dames, cheap plug, not on your reading list?
Because one, it's brand new. And
it is
two,
brand new. But brand new, Charlotte, but just in time for Christmas. I was told this morning an ideal Christmas present, apparently.
Well, who told you that?
Why the sarcasm when you say that? My cousin Louise, we are related, and she is amazing, said that the Kindness Project might make an ideal Christmas present for her friends. That's what she said.
Is that because she's mentioned in it?
Huh?
Is that because she's mentioned in it?
She's mentioned in it, but I made the schoolboy error of, despite us reaching out to most people who are mentioned in it, I made the schoolboy error of only telling her this morning. Should have probably told her a little bit sooner than that, right?
Yeah, definitely. Didn't you reach out to like loads of people who were in it? Don't
tell Louise that. Shush. I've done it now. She's in it. Right. The other thing that I want to... The other thing... What? This is like... Russ is recording this for prosperity.
Prosperity.
And I almost said posterity. We're trying to get to the bottom of that one, Charlotte. What are you? What is the most fascinating book you're reading at the minute that you're absolutely loving?
Book. I'm not reading a lot of books at the minute. A lot of articles I'm reading. Like I read one about the creation of the British lottery. But also how like it was like, oh, the lottery is bad because gambling. But then they were like, here's how we mix lottery and art and made it like a middle class activity, and it was great.
Oh, how did they mix lottery and art and make it a middle class activity?
So basically, they did this thing where they had like these art groups. I can't remember the specific name for them, and they had them sort of all over. Like major cities had their versions, and people would pay an entry fee to sort of be part of this club, but that entry fee would sort of enter them into a draw, and if they won at the end of the year, they would get an art piece.
Okay.
But then also like
so an arts lottery.
Yeah, but then
I've never heard of that.
if they didn't win, they got their name inscribed on a plaque anyway. So like
A
even
plaque.
if so win or lose, they had like, you know, something they were getting.
Amazing. What would you prefer, a piece of art or your name on a plaque?
Neither. I don't know what I'd do with either. You know, like
Do you get to keep the plaque? Where does the plaque
I
get
don't know.
stored?
It didn't specify. You know,
Um,
you know.
I don't know whether a plaque is something that I'd want. I mean, I don't know. It's something. I mean, it
Your
depends on the
name
art.
engraved in
So,
gold.
so the first unofficial question of the podcast: if you were in an art lottery, what would be the piece of art that you'd love to have, and the piece of art you definitely wouldn't want? Go, Charlotte.
Art I'd love to have. I don't know, something like with questionable meaning. Like it's uncertain. It's like colours and shapes and
So modern art that's a little vague, yeah?
yeah,
Give me an example.
maybe something like modern or postmodern. Something that's just shapes and colours.
Shapes and colours. Just
I wouldn't want the Mona Lisa.
overrated.
Yeah,
We
definitely.
know, and again, this might be a unpopular opinion, podcast viewers and listeners, but we believe the Mona Lisa, in our personal opinion, having seen it in the Louvre, is the most overrated piece of art in the world.
I was expecting it to be bigger.
Yeah, I was expecting it to be better. I was expecting it to be good, but it's not. Now, can we say just very quickly, Mike Grist is watching. My mate Mike, thanks for joining us on the Kindness Project Live. I was talking to him the other day, Charlotte, and I was mentioning your love for biscuit tea, and his comment. And if you are watching live, feel free to comment because we love your comments. We want your answers to questions of the podcast. We want you to get involved and engage. We also want you to buy the book, available later this month. Have I mentioned the book enough, Charlotte, or not?
I think you're pushing it a bit on too much. It needs to be more sporadic, more random.
I'll just do it like subliminally, like that. What I did tell him is your love for biscuit tea and the fact that you asked your mum to send
I didn't ask her to send them.
Right, you tell the story then. You tell the story.
I asked her where she got them. She told me, and I was like, I don't know if there's one of those nearby. It's fine. And then she was like, I'll send you some. And I'm like, you don't have to. And she was like, I'll send you some.
And
then you came into it and you were like, we're not sending you any tea. And I was like, yeah.
Just for the benefit of our listeners, just out of interest, where could you get the tea? Sainsbury's. You're in Glasgow. You're not on Mars, are you? There's clearly, I mean, and you've got access to this thing called Google. There's clearly a way that you could find out whether there was a local Sainsbury's for this tea.
Yeah, but it's not worth it. I don't love it enough for that.
But mums, enough of that now. Enough of that, yeah? But
no, I don't love it enough for that.
Oh, right, okay. You like it. You like it enough so that if your mum sent you a tea bag, that'd be all right. But not enough to go to the shop.
I've got loads of tea. I don't need. I brought loads of tea with me. I don't need it.
Can I mean, look, I get where my wife Gatsy and Charlotte's mum is coming from. She wants to make sure you looked after. But can I just talk about one of the bad habits she's got? And that bad habit, she's going to watch this, and I'm not gonna
Is
come
she not
out well
there?
this. She's not there. She's out collecting Sophie.
Oh yeah,
One of her interesting habits. Let's not call it bad. Interesting. Wanting to start Christmas now. So, first question of the podcast is: when is the right time to start Christmas? Now, the problem I've got, right, and this happened yesterday when I came home. So I was at an event yesterday afternoon, came home and said, all right, okay, what's been happening? I've been shopping. There's loads of stuff in the kitchen. Wandered out in the kitchen, and my favourite.
Pigs and blankets.
No, not pigs and blankets yet. Not pigs and blankets yet. My favourite confection, Stollen.
Stollen.
Oh, you can't beat a bit of Stollen, can you?
I almost bought some the other day, and I was like, I can't do it. I can't.
Now I've taken a piece of Stollen. I've had a couple today. I had a piece of Stollen, and she went. Cassie went. Has Christmas started? Because you're clearly eating Stollen, and Stollen's a Christmas thing. So, well, it's not really. It's more German. I'm
Christmas German.
No, different. Stollen's German. So then she said to me, "Are you denying Christmas has started?" And I just used the word "no." Sorry, you're not keen on my German accent? Or what?
No, I'm really not keen.
So, no. So when is the right time for Christmas to start, do you reckon, Charlotte?
I mean, it hasn't started. Well, actually, there are a couple of places that have got Christmas stuff up. But I haven't got any Christmas stuff up.
When should Christmas kick in, do you reckon?
The 27th of November.
27th of November. So
Yeah.
as everybody should celebrate Christmas just before Sophie's birthday, is that right?
Because she likes it.
Everybody in the world should go by what the Danes family do.
But Soph likes it, so that's why we should do it.
Right. Okay. Now you can broadcast that to everybody who listens. We've got 50,000 listeners on the Kindness Project tuning in. What is going on with you turning around and going, you've turned into a bit of a Christmas dictator. You're like a Christmas Mussolini.
You asked the question, and I gave you my opinion and my answer. It is
Fair
not
enough.
a set of guidelines. It is just
There is. 1st of December is my rigid dictatorship style Christmas start.
And if your youngest daughter wants the tree up for her birthday,
9. What? I won't do the German accent anymore. Anyway, few things that I want to share on the because we're doing this special live broadcast because I don't know if I mentioned what's happening that's like later in the month. Should we time for the book? The book's coming out. When's the date, Russ? 17th of November? Oh, he's too busy producing the podcast, but he'll tell me in a minute. It's later in November that the book is coming out. You can pre-order on Amazon now, and I'm sure Raz, because he's super efficient, is going to put a link on the live if you'd like to pre-order the book. Now, I've had a couple of people come back to me and say pre-orders are only letting me 17th is the date. Thank you, Russ. Super efficient as usual. 17th of November is the date of the book. I've had a couple of people come back to me to say they want paper versions of the book. They don't want to buy the Kindle version. So that date is the 17th that you can order that. You can't pre-order the paper version of the book. But what you can do is to go on www.thekindnessproject.co.uk, click book, give us your email address, and then we'll give you a update as soon as the book comes out. But as we're doing this live special, basically because we haven't spoken all week and I just wanted to chat, and I thought it'd be a good way to do it on the podcast, but also because the book's coming out, I've got a few questions of the podcast that I'd like our viewers and listeners to answer. So podcast question number 1, what's the most insightful book you've ever read? Podcast question number 2, what's the most entertaining book you've ever read? Can I disown podcast question number 3 immediately?
Is this the one about giraffes?
Yeah. This is Russell. This is producer Russ's question. And I don't know. Now, the problem is, Charlotte, every time we ask a ridiculous question on the Kindness Project, and one of us think that that's the silliest question ever, we always get loads of responses. So I might be wrong on this. Russ might be right, but let's give it a go anyway. What's your favourite book containing a giraffe?
I don't actually know if I know any books containing a giraffe.
No, we'll get to that one. And then your question of the podcast. Do you want to share that?
I don't remember what it was.
What's the best thing that lives in water?
Oh, sea angels. Or are they called angelfish? I think they're called sea angels.
I just want to give you a bit of notice, Charlotte. I've also had some lobbying this week, and I thought we'd consigned it to the waste paper basket forever, but apparently there is a bit of a fan club for Charlotte's Joke of the Week.
Charlotte's Joke of the Week.
Do you remember that when we did it on the lives?
I love doing that.
Apparently, I didn't realise Charlotte's Joke of the Week is actually.
Who's been lobbying for Charlotte's Joke of the Week back?
Curry Club. My little bunch of mates said to me. So I forgot to mention it on our pre-podcast preparation, but let me ask you now: would you, in this live version of the podcast, like to bring Charlotte's Joke of the Week back?
Give me 5 minutes.
She's Googling now. Halfway through the podcast, she's trying to find a good joke of the week, can't you?
If you'd have given me prep time, I would already have one, but unfortunately you didn't.
Okay, so whilst you're Googling halfway through a podcast recording what the joke of the week is, I'm going to share Mike's answers to his question of the podcast. The most influential book he's ever read is Clark Carlisle, You Don't Know Me. Now, interestingly, yesterday, I had an amazing interview with a guy, and his interview is going to be coming up in the next couple of weeks. Now, this was with a guy called Douglas Samuel, and Douglas Samuel works for a football club up in Edinburgh called the Spartans. He's just been awarded an MBE because effectively when all the football was shut down during the pandemic, he turned the football club into effectively a community hub designed to support the local community, and made sure that throughout the pandemic 8,000 people in his local community who had food poverty got fed. So amazing guy, football coach for 25 years. And we were just talking about sort of life in general, how coaching has helped him live his life, and fantastically insightful. Do you think there's a lot we can learn about life from sport, Charlotte?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of lessons that sort of can come from different places, and I think sport is definitely a place that can sort of, like, you can see the effect and value of teamwork through sport, and sort of the effect and value of community through things like that. Yeah.
About games.
Yes.
Oh, go on. Well, you know what? That was amazing, because sport you were a bit non-committal on. Games. Talk to me about what we can learn from games.
I don't know a lot about sport, and I don't know a lot about sporting communities. So you asked the question, I was like, there's something that can be gleaned from sport, probably.
But you know a lot more about games, right? So tell me about what you think you can learn from playing games.
Well, okay. One, there's a sense of community that comes from sort of a shared love of a specific story or narrative, or it depends on what kinds of games you're talking about. Definitely, if you're talking like online games, there's obviously team-based games that sort of allow for interaction with other people. There's also the community that comes with it. And like
you are a bit of a fan of Dungeons and Dragons, aren't you?
Yes,
That's your favourite choice.
My favorite part of Dungeons and Dragons is the fact that, as I like to say, it's a game of collaborative storytelling. So it's all of you working together to tell one story. And anything can happen because it's all based off the roll of a dice, but then you still get to be these people, and you tell this story together as a group rather than sort of as one person telling a story. And I write a lot of stories, but there's nothing as fun as being able to tell a story with other people.
I love that, but do you think the act of randomness adds something to the experience?
Yes,
because
definitely.
I'll tell you why. I was having this conversation. There's an amazing book, probably one of the most, quite dark, but one of the most entertaining books I've ever read. And I haven't read it for a while, but it's called The Dice Man by Luke Reinhardt. I don't know, we've spoken about it on the podcast before. And effectively, it's about a psychotherapist or psychologist who decides to live his life by the roll of a dice. So he turns around and goes, right, okay, I'm gonna make all my decisions on the roll of a dice. Now, I've spoken to you about this in the past, and said that'd be an interesting experiment to travel by. Do you know what I mean? Just imagine turning up at the airport, picking 6 places to go, not knowing where you're going to go, and just basically rolling your dice and seeing what happens. Is that a no, Charlotte? Is that not our next trip, Charlotte? Well, I'll tell you what, we'll pick the places we're going to have on that first dice roll now. I'll go first. Botswana, where are you going to pick?
Are we talking countries or like cities?
Wherever you want.
I'd like to go back to Copenhagen.
Oh, why would you like to go back to Copenhagen?
I just, like, every time we've been there, I feel like we've only been there for a short amount of time. We sort of keep passing through Copenhagen. And we've done some Copenhagen, but like...
Well, I mean, the challenge we've got is we're always on our way to do... I mean, Copenhagen was amazing the last time we went, because the Tour de France was there. But yes, Copenhagen. So we've got Botswana, Copenhagen, right? Next one, Stoke. We're
gonna fly to Stoke.
Fly. Just imagine turning up at Heathrow and going, right, we're off to one of the places is Stoke. No, our third one's Stoke. What's your next one?
Where's somewhere that we'd be cool to go?
Swindon?
Berlin would be cool. I haven't been to Berlin.
Yeah, we skirted around Berlin as our...
We did like Munich.
I mean, we haven't been... we've been to Frankfurt, but not really. I mean, we saw the hotel and another train, and that's it. But yeah, Berlin is very cool. I like Berlin. So how many have we got? We've got 4. So we've got...
I mean, there are a whole range of dice out there, Dad. You can go as high as 20. So...
so are you thinking about using like a Dungeons and Dragons style dice?
Like a D20 polyhedral, like... Yeah. You start at 4 and then you go 6, 8, 10, 12, 20. And so like possibilities become higher and higher and more.
Exactly. We could put 20. I mean, I think 6 is fine. Now, this is the interesting thing. So Mike, who's still watching, great to see you, Mike, is saying that next time we go for a beer, he's gonna make sure he brings his dice for the next trip we have down the Bermondsey Beer Mile. But here's the interesting thing, Mike, as you're watching, I was out with another bunch of mates the other day, and they did a Dice Man pub crawl, where basically they turned up at a pub, threw a dice, and said, "Right, we need to get on the tube and now go there and find the nearest pub." So they picked 6 places. Now I don't know, Charlotte, whether any of those pubs were actually in Stoke. They were probably around London, but we are now up to 4. So we've got, what was my first one? My first one, Copenhagen, Stoke, and Berlin. My next one, Reykjavik. What's yours?
Wherever we can find the nearest espresso house.
Now, this is the thing. That the espresso houses are and if you've never been to Scandinavia, it's the Scandinavian espresso house is the Scandinavian version of Starbucks, isn't it?
You won't find a Starbucks or a Costa. We never did. Like, I never saw one when we were over there.
No. This has turned into Travel Man with Chris and Charlotte, isn't it? Just us talking about our trip around Europe. Right. So we've got a few more watchers live on the Facebook community. Thank you for joining us.
Does that mean it's time for Joke of the Week?
No, it's not. It's never time for Joke of the Week. I'm only bringing it back because it's been demanded by the community.
Thank you for your demands.
And I'm bringing it back once, and then it's gone forever. All right? What you can't see now, listeners, because the camera's on me and Charlotte's not making any noise, is her making a sad face. Do you want to show us that sad face whilst making a noise?
Ah!
What was the noise?
Well, I can't make noise.
Ah!
I can't make noise while my face is like that, so I had to make a loud noise to keep the camera on me.
Fair enough. All right, cool. Do you want to show us your sad face again with a noise? That looks more worried, to be honest.
They're both.
Right, so just as a little reminder, here are our questions to the podcast. What's the most insightful book you've ever read? What's the most entertaining book you've ever read? Can you do this one?
What's your favourite book containing a giraffe?
I mean, I will send you a free copy of the Kindness Project book.
Don't say that, because loads of people are gonna. Oh my god!
If you can pick the best person, probably the only person who says a book containing a giraffe, you get a free copy of the Kindness Project book. That's what I'm going for on that.
Okay.
And then, what is the best thing that lives in water? And I think jellyfish.
No.
Go on, tell me.
I think they're called sea angels. Yeah, sea angels. And they're these little slugs. And they have like clear, transparent bodies, and you can see all their internal organs, and they glow as they move.
So how are you spelling that? What is a sea angle?
Sea angel.
Sea angel. Okay, sea angel. Okay, I'm going to Google sea angel.
Dude, they're really
see
pretty.
What I get. Are they?
Yeah.
Where are they in the world? Geographically, where would you find a sea angel?
They live in the deepest parts of the ocean, in the dark. And
now, Mike has just Googled books about giraffes and put a giraffe-based book. I owe him a free copy of the book. That copy is yours, Mr. Christie. You are definitely getting one of those.
Unless someone else comments a giraffe book, of course.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. So, sea angels are the best thing in the water, and we'll wait for your comments to come through on that particular question. A few other things that I just wanted to talk about. Did I mention the book?
This week we have part 2 of our interview with Abby Barmby from Yorkshire Air Ambulance.
tell us about the amazing work that the Yorkshire Air Ambulance does.
Yeah, so a lot of people probably be aware about air ambulances, in the UK, in Scotland and Wales and Ireland. I've got one as well. And we actually so the first air ambulance that came to fruition was in Cornwall. I think it was about 1986, around about that time. And then each county's kind of followed in suit. Ironically, unbelievably, Yorkshire being one of the largest counties in the UK was pretty much one of the last counties to get an air ambulance. So we arrived in 2000. So we're 22. We're literally 22 next week on the 25th of October.
So really recently then,
Yeah, so 2020 was our 20th anniversary, but we couldn't celebrate it till May this year because of lockdown.
Yeah.
So we've been going 22 years now, and the service has evolved massively since they first started. From kind of being air ambulances in general, but speaking from experience from our ones, from being an original service that was kind of almost like a glorified fast ambulance, where the crews would go out, quick bit of medical intervention package. It was all about the golden hour. It was about getting the patient to the hospital within that hour. Fast forward 25, 30 years later, it's totally changed, and what our crews are doing is unbelievable these days, and the impact that they're having on people's chances of survivals and treatment outcomes is unbelievable. We pretty much taken the A&E to the scene of the accident
because of the fact that you've got really well trained medical professionals.
Yeah, so we've got really, really super skilled paramedics, and we also fly with doctors, consultant level doctors. Each air ambulance is modelled slightly differently, so I can only really comment on the way Yorkshire works.
Yeah.
So we have critical care paramedics and consultant doctors flying on one of our aircraft, but it's just the level and the skills and the skill sets that they have. They can perform surgical procedures at the roadside, and that's where it's all changing. So it's not about getting the patient to the hospital in the quickest possible time now. It's about getting the treatment to them quicker. And that's they can do blood transfusions on site. They can even crack the chest open and do some phenomenal procedures.
And as you say, that first hour of treatment is the one that has the huge amount of impact. And even if the journey to the hospital was half an hour by a helicopter, you're still in a position where having that proactive treatment on site is really important, right? If it's right.
Yeah, absolutely. And the drugs that they can administer in some cases are more advanced than what sometimes the land ambulances can do. Sure. And even just the journey, like we fly about 2 miles a minute. So if it's going to take 25 minutes or 30 minutes to drive to a hospital, we can do that in 10 to 15 minutes because we fly as the crow flies. And we're also not got traffic to deal with and undulating roads and twists and turns. So that kind of comes in, and kind of where we're coming to our own is rural and remote locations as well.
That's what surprised me about how recent the Yorkshire Air Ambulance has been established, because you assume in these areas where there's mountain ranges and lakes,
we've got it sort of. Yeah, we've got it all up here. We've got, major towns and cities, like we've got Leeds and Bradford and York and some massive cities, some of the busiest motorway networks in the UK. We've got the M62 runs one side to the other, the M1, the A1.
But also
we've got the Dales, we've got up the Three Peaks up in the Dales, massive. We get a massive tourist swell in the kind of summer months and in the school holidays. Yorkshire's certainly been really fashionable over, loads of TV programmes. We've got one of our own, the Yorkshire Vet. There's so many.
And what as well, I'd imagine. I mean, particularly. I mean, I'm we as a family we're guilty of this, Abby. Like you jump on a plane to another country, and then during lockdown it's like, oh, we can't do that anymore. And one of the people did the Peaks and Lakes for like a couple of
well,
weeks.
I was the same. Like for us, we go down the way. You guys come up, and we come down.
Exactly.
So we went to Cornwall and Dorset, last year, and places. I'm the same. We live 40 minutes from Manchester Airport or 25 minutes from Leeds Bradford Airport. It's easy to drive and jump on a plane and go abroad than to get in a car, and it was about 7 hours to drive to Cornwall.
I mean,
what an amazing place.
Cornwall is, if you get the weather, my friend's got a place down there just by Perranporth Golf Club. And it was funny because he during 2021, when we didn't travel abroad, we went to his place for a week, and it was a bit scary because I had a 9-year-old at the time who loves art and creativity, and he just bought a holiday home with the whitest walls I've ever seen in my life. I'm going, this could go wrong really quickly. The weird thing is, it was on the golf club, so like I'm sort of getting up in the morning ready to sort of get ready just in my shorts and t-shirt, and open the window, and there's a guy teeing off just outside the flat. I was like, this is strange. So I mean, I suppose one of the things about the and I've had this conversation, funny enough, last week with somebody who's coming on the podcast relatively soon, particularly when it comes to ambulances and sort of charities linked to the NHS. Part of the confusion I find is that people just don't know where the line is between charity and NHS. Help me understand how that works for you guys.
So in Yorkshire, we work through a partnership with Yorkshire Ambulance Service. So our paramedics and our doctors are seconded to us through them. So that's the support we get. But we fund everything else. So the pilots are employed directly by the charity. The charity funds the helicopters, everything. But the kind of the medical element and the clinical governance is overseen by the ambulance service through their
that is funded by the NHS, but everything else that comes with it. So basically,
the Yorkshire Ambulance Service pay the wages of the, but then they come to us in a secondment. So it's upskilling the ambulance services staff, and they come for us. We have some that are full-time because you need that stability within the crew, but some crew come through on a 3-year secondment, but they're gaining skills the whole time that they're here, and then when they're released back in, so it's better in the service. So that's how the model works in Yorkshire. But I know it works slightly differently elsewhere. I know one air ambulance that employ everybody directly under the charity umbrella, and it is, like I say, it's all different. But that's how we work, and we have always worked like that.
And there was a bit of a wry grin when I said about that challenge, because I get the impression that that's a question you've got to answer quite a lot, right?
Yeah, I'm going to say it's probably one of our biggest marketing messages, and something that we talk about daily, numerous times a day. It's funny when you're out and about, whether you're out with work or whether it's a personal thing, and you get chatting to somebody, and where do you work? I work for the Yorkshire Air Ambulance. Not the glamorous side of things. I said, I'm not a pilot or a paramedic. I work for the charity. How does that work then? And so, we fundraise, and we've got to raise a lot of money. And I thought you were part of the NHS, or I thought you got this. And then it's always a good conversation starter. But I've literally spent the last 14 years basically educating people that we are an independent charity. We don't get any direct government funding. Like, we're a bit like hospices in that aspect. They don't receive direct government. I think. I hope I'm not speaking. I said something wrong there, but I'm sure they work similarly to us.
Well, I think the local one to us, St Francis, who works, who we've had on the podcast, I think they receive about 20% their funding.
Yeah, it's minimum. I think anything is minimal.
But 80%. And how much money have you got raised every year to make sure that the sort of air ambulance?
You've asked me a bit of a hot topic question here, Chris, because so up till now, our daily fundraising message has been £12,000 a day. But literally, we were in the middle. We are reviewing that at the minute. We are a victim of current circumstances as everybody else does. We were due to revise our costs at about March 2019. We were due to kind of look at having to increase them, but obviously COVID hit. And it wasn't an appropriate time to then. It was a hard enough time for everybody without us saying, "Oh my goodness, we need more money each day." So we're about 2 increases behind now.
Gotcha.
So there is imminently going to be. We're having to review and look at. We're going to have to jump that up.
So that's interesting. From your perspective, because you're responsible for all the comms that comes out of the charity, how important is timing when it comes to that?
Massively, absolutely massively, yeah. And we often we think and discuss long and hard before we do things, and sometimes it pays to sometimes, if you're not the first to shout up, but not be the last to shout up at the same time and pitch it just about right. And I'd like to think we've maintained that balance well. I think COVID and lockdown was a great one, great example. I remember seeing some charities that came in for a lot of stick because they kind of went public and said, everybody was the same. We were losing out on a lot of donations.
No events.
No events. They literally, I think we lost about £2 million in community income one year because there was no events to go to. But that's kind of what your reserves are for. And I remember a few charities going out, kind of, we basically saying we've lost all this income and you need to help us raise more. And I remember seeing somebody tweeted back, well, what about your so many £1 million in reserves? It's things like that you have to be very, very careful about. And one of the reasons that we didn't furlough our staff, because that's what reserves are there for, is to, and we had the most fortunate year during COVID, and because we had a huge year for legacy income that was unexpected and unplanned, and that money would have come in even if COVID hadn't have hit. Because a lot of legacy income, you don't know it's coming in until it arrives. So somebody was watching down on us that year, and unfortunately our kind of unprecedented legacy income for that year managed to prop us up and kind of see us through. So we ended up finishing the year on a pretty even keel, really, as opposed to expecting a deficit or expecting to have to dip into, we'd kind of mapped out 2 or 3 different
scenarios.
If we don't bring this in, what's going to be the impact? If this happens, what would be the impact? So, because we're very, very well run, we don't have a chief exec like a lot of other organisations. We have a very active board of trustees that meet monthly. So, and then I'm one of 6 senior managers that kind of do the day-to-day, heads of department that run, and we work with the trustee board very, very closely. So every month our accounts are looked at, things are scrutinised. So one thing I can say is that we are run, quite,
leanly. Well, I mean, that's the big thing. I mean, we had a conversation with a lady who we've interviewed on the podcast before, but focuses on sort of philanthropy and helping people make good decisions about where their estate goes in the event of their death, and particularly for causes that mean something to them. I think one of the big things that came out of that conversation with Lauren was, I think people just genuinely want to help causes they believe in, number one. But also sometimes what puts people off is that feeling of waste, that feeling of actually, is this going to have a positive impact?
I think, what I've certainly learned over the years, because this was my first job in the charity sector. I'd never, I'd come from construction and advertising, in the private
good
sector.
Background, though, I'd imagine, sort of having the commercial side.
It was. But one thing I've certainly learned over the years is you cannot force people into supporting a charity if they don't want to. Charitable giving is so emotionally linked and often very emotive, and people choose to support charities quite often because they've got a personal link, or they've got a personal reason for it. And when you speak to a lot of our supporters, and you ask them why do you choose to support us? Oh, well, I know somebody that was picked up by you, or I've seen your work firsthand, or I've watched you on the TV. And some people even just say, you like an insurance policy. So if I have a really bad accident, I know I've spoken to a few motorcyclists that say that, because obviously, we do meet a few of them on our way, and they say, you like an insurance policy, and me donating to you, I know that if anything ever happens, that you'd be there for me. So
that makes sense. I mean, I suppose you've got to say that we can't guarantee that we're going to pick you up personally, but it depends on where you.
Depending on how seriously injured people are, but it is a very charitable giving is so emotionally and emotive
100%.
driven, and that's something that we take pride on, is not being pushy in our marketing approach. It's about offering people information, advice, and giving them options, and letting them make the decision about what they want to do with their own money.
That was Abby. Part 3 next week.
Again, you're not making enough noise, so the camera's just on
the
me.
book has been mentioned quite a bit, but I believe this is for the promotion of the book. So,
well, I mean, I wanted to do as we normally do over the weekend, we do a audio version of the podcast every week, don't we? Mike says he doesn't want a free book; he definitely wants to pay, so that's good. So the giraffe-based book is still available. If you can make a giraffe question. But here's the thing. We do this anyway, but normally we don't go live, do we? Because we normally record it and then it goes out on Spotify, on iTunes, on Google Podcasts. It goes out on all of them. Charlie, hello. Welcome to the live version of the Kindness Project. Just to be clear, we've got a few questions in the podcast going on at the minute. What's the most insightful book you've ever read? What's the most entertaining book you've ever read? I'm blaming Russell for this. What's your favourite book containing a giraffe? And what's the best thing that lives in water? So please do feel free to let us know answers to all of those questions. But what we don't normally do is go live. And I thought, on the run-up to the book coming out, instead of us just recording it and then putting it out to our loyal podcast audience of Spotify listeners and iTunes listeners and all that sort of stuff, doing a few live ones might be quite good fun, right, Charlotte?
Yeah, that's why we're here. It's later than we usually do lives.
When we did it during the pandemic, because we did one every single morning during the pandemic, didn't we?
I don't know if we did weekends, but
no, we did lockdown 1. I think we did 5 days a week.
Yeah, we did 5 days a week.
Yeah, but yeah, it's a little bit later, but love the fact that there's. Oh, hello! I've just turned the video off.
Oh,
there I am. Actually, I look better on that version. Should we keep that on?
I don't actually have my face on my logo because I haven't changed it. Because I literally only use Zoom for this, and sometimes I use it for D&D, but we only get 30 minutes and then it kicks us out of the call.
Oh, you haven't invested for your D&D group in a premium Zoom subscription?
Well, we primarily use Discord, but it was down and we had to make do.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And then I suppose the other thing I wanted to talk about, Charlotte, is it okay to torment family members? Because I was having this conversation a couple of weeks ago, and as you know, this is a very family-centric podcast because producer Russ is your uncle, and you're my daughter, and we do have a bit of a line in. How would you describe it? Insults, banter?
Friendly banter.
Friendly banter. And Cassie has said to me, for a podcast designed to showcase how kind people are, you are sometimes not very kind to your brother. But there's an understanding there that, like, actually it's banter. So what do you think? Have I crossed the line when it comes to insulting Russ, and has he crossed the line when it comes to insulting me?
I mean, hopefully, if you know each other's feelings, you'd tell each other you were hurt.
Yeah, what I sometimes like to do is embarrass Russ. I mean, that is really entertaining. And as he's not on this live version of the podcast, and I can just imagine him going crimson as I say this. Can I say how much I love him? And I'm grateful for everything he does. Not only at work, but also on the podcast, and as an amazing legend of a brother. But also, on my screen at the minute, there's a bit of dust that's hit my laptop, and it looks like the photo of Russ that I can see has got a massive bit of dirt on his head. I don't know if that adds any value at all, but what do you think? So,
He messaged you.
He messaged me to let me know what's going on in the Facebook group, not to tell me about whether he's got a bit of dirt on his head or not. I'll assume that he has, though, so that's fine. What he's told me is that Charlie's written in and given his answers to the question of the podcast. Most insightful book he's ever read is Atomic Habits, Nudge, and the
Starting back up Monday, it'll be
hello, what's going on there?
I was trying to look at the comments on the video and it showed me the video instead.
You're meant to be good with technology, Charlotte. You're a youth contingent. What's going on?
Facebook is a very different brand of technology that I do not understand and is primarily not in my wheelhouse.
All right, so are you taking response? Are you not happy with Russell's work on the comments then? You think he's doing a rubbish job?
Well, no, I was just looking at them and it was like, there's 10 comments. And I was like, I can only see 3. Why are you only showing me 3?
Okay, fair enough. Well, Charlie Goodman said Atomic Habits, Nudge, Psychology and Money are the books that he loves. And I agree with him. Actually, the best and most insightful books take potentially complex subjects and put them in a way that hopefully is full of stories, easy to understand, and just highlights ways that we can improve our life. Like that wasn't subtle, was it? That wasn't subtle. Like a book that's coming out on the 17th of November. Right. One thing that's
do I get a coffee?
What do you mean? What, a free copy? I'm not your mum. I'm not going to send you free tea and free books. It's available on Amazon. Go on. I'm not your mum. Go on. What do you want to do? The answer is I will certainly sign you a copy. But as an independent adult now, you can afford your own books. And I will I will make sure that you get a discount of 27% on your copy of the book.
Oh, fun!
I'll make sure you do get a copy, Charlotte. Yes. £15 for you. Retail price $13.99. Can I just say we've got a few more viewers on the Facebook Live, thank you for joining us for this special episode of the Kindness Project, where I'm talking about my book that's coming out pretty soon. But like Justin Gaffney definitely says, buy the book. You've got to buy the book. You're not allowed to get a free copy. All right. The reality is 100% of the profits of the book is going to St Francis Hospice. So if I give you a free copy, effectively what I'm doing, Charlotte, is robbing a hospice of much needed funds. so what I mean what I've completely lost it now. You need to talk.
Oh no, yeah, the book I haven't read yet.
Right, but yeah, we'll certainly make sure you get a copy. But let's just go. I've got completely off tangent. But what,
I said it as a joke, and it took us completely off.
you know what? I was telling Mike the other day. I've got the comments. Russ is sharing the comments with me. He likes the idea of us doing a live recording of the podcast as our 300th final episode. So we might do that actually.
I mean, when does 300 land?
We've still got a little while, but I think we're in a position where probably 6 months. So we might do a live final episode of the Kindness Project commemorate episode 300. So we might do that. For our new viewers, just so you're clear on what the questions of the podcast are, we'd love your answers. What's the most insightful book you've ever read? What's the most entertaining book you've ever read? What's your favourite? And this is Russell's, not mine. What's your favourite book containing a giraffe? Apparently, is a question that we ask now. And your one, Charlotte, was what?
What's your favourite thing that lives under the sea?
Under the sea.
Yeah, I have that song in my head on loop all the time, and I don't know why.
I don't know. Is that your favourite Disney song?
No, Poor Unfortunate Souls.
Which is in The Little Mermaid, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not like...
Sorry, have you got the Little Mermaid soundtrack running in your head all the time?
No, just Under the Sea. Like if my head goes blank, it just starts playing the opening of Under the Sea.
Yeah. And as it goes, oh, I shouldn't sing on the podcast, definitely not. So we are coming, unfortunately, to the end of this episode of the Kindness Project Live. Thank you if you're watching for joining us. If you've joined us live, and if you're watching on catch up, what we will do when we post this on LinkedIn and Facebook and Twitter and all of that sort of good stuff is we will share a link both to the pre-order page on Amazon to buy the book, and we'll make sure that you've got a link to the Kindness Project website, which allows you to say that you're interested in the book, so that when it comes out 17th of November, we'll give you a little nudge, or Russ will give you a little nudge to let you know when it's out. We are already over the past week already on some top Amazon lists, so we sort of crawled into the top 20 category on at least 2 of our 3 categories on pre-orders alone. And what I'm really keen to do is make sure that because I want to raise as much money for an amazing cause as possible, get us to as close to number 1 as we can get. So if you can buy the book, I'd love you to support. If you've enjoyed any of the stuff we've done on the podcast, including the live stuff we did during the pandemic, I'd really, really appreciate if you bought the book. As I say, this genuinely, Charlotte, I've loved doing this podcast with you, and I know we're going to carry on after the book's been published. I had a little cry actually,
Oh no.
just randomly. No, I had a little cry when I read your forward because thank you. Why are you looking like?
Sorry.
I really appreciated your very kind words. So thank you for your contribution and writing the forward of the book, despite not even reading the book. I mean, that is a very poor show. But I, the fact that we've done this together, and it's something that I believe we can look back on and be super proud of in terms of the contribution we've made and the sort of hopefully made people a little bit happier, particularly as you said in your forward, particularly during the pandemic when we were all in this weird situation. But not only that, the lives were great, but this now goes out to tens of thousands of people every week, and I'm super proud of that as well.
That's still so weird to think about. Just like
it is weird
sitting having a chat, and it's got some format, and all of a sudden thousands of people are listening, and it's like, okay, cool.
It is. It's so strange. Literally, it's one of those things where we do this. And we do this primarily because it's fun, right? We do it because it's actually quite a good way to look at, spend time together, but also sort of add a bit of social value. But like really, really important is we have a lot of fun with it. But it has developed a audience, and that does feel bizarre because it's like I'm sitting at my lounge table at the minute with a massive car behind me.
It started me and you and a Mike in the garage.
Mike wasn't there.
No, the microphone.
Mike, have you been breaking into my house and not telling me?
For 5 years, damn.
Is Mike down my garage now? Mike, are you down there?
No, but it was me, you, that Silver Mike. I still have
Silver Mike, is that his new nickname? Why is he not Gold Mike? Why is he not Bronze Mike?
Because he deserves better than.
Do you hear that, Mike? You're better than Bronze. You're Gold. No, you're not. Charlotte, you're Silver.
No, you know what I'm talking about. I'd say good old reliable, but it did fail on us.
Good old reliable. Sorry, you were going to say good old reliable Mike, but as it failed on us, what are you going to call it?
Too much.
Too much, Mike.
It's too early for this.
Too early, Mike. I mean, it is too early if you're still hiding in my garage. Go on, what? Go on, what? Right, go on. If the mic kept on going wrong, what are you going to call it?
At least it's still fun.
Working occasionally, Mike. Is that what we're saying? Is that?
It's far too early in the morning for this.
No, it's lunchtime. It's lunchtime.
I haven't had coffee yet.
Fair enough.
I need to go and buy some.
I mean, I really hope Mike's not offended by what you've said about him. That's all I can say.
No, okay. I found the picture we took the first day we were recording.
Yes.
And it's on my Instagram if you scroll back far enough.
Yeah.
And
yeah, we need to take an updated picture, don't we? That's what we need to do.
Yeah.
When we're both up in Scotland together for Christmas, we'll make sure we do.
Well, I'm coming down after Christmas.
Yeah, so
and then I'll make my way back up.
We could do some recordings then. A couple of things that I just want to mention from our live audience. We were due to only do 45 minutes, but I want to make sure that we're in a position where we sort of read everything we do. So number one is Charlie Goodman's most entertaining book. Thanks for your comment, Charlie. It's a hard one, but he loves Terry Pratchett. I agree. Terry Pratchett is an amazing writer. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I'm not a Terry Pratchett book, I know, but Douglas Adams is probably one of my most entertaining books. What's the book that you've found the most entertaining ever, Charlotte?
Oh, entertaining as in see, do you mean like entertaining as in it provided me sort of like the most wonder and joy?
Entertaining as it entertained you.
Okay, cool, but that's layered, my guy.
It's a complex question.
Are we talking about like I'm laughing, or are we talking about wow, I feel like I'm in a magical mystery world of joy? Like, I wouldn't say I was laughing at Agatha Christie books, but they do provide me the most like.
No, you're right. You're right.
And then there were none. I was like sitting there and smiling and going, "Oh my god, this is."
I remember. I mean, I can't remember how old you were when you watched when you read that.
12, 13.
But I remember you. I remember you saying to me, "Dad, I can't believe this is that," and I said, "You cannot tell me." Because you're so excited about reading the book, I want to read it now.
Yeah.
And I did, and I before I read, and then there were none. I assumed Agatha Christie was a little bit old-fashioned, if I'm honest, and I wasn't going to enjoy it. But I absolutely loved, and then there were none. So.
Yeah, well, I read, and then there were none because I read A Dumb Witness, which absolutely, it's not one of the ones you hear about from Agatha Christie often. Like, I've never heard anyone else talk about it, but it is the one that got me into Agatha Christie, and it's just so brilliant, and like how it's just and I will always recommend Agatha Christie to anyone.
So Charlie Goodman is recommending Terry Pratchett. Mike's come on Facebook and said, "I need to plug the book again. Your wish is my command, Mike." There you go. The Kindness Project by Chris Dames, out on the 17th of November, available to pre-order on Amazon now, on Kindle. The paper version is out on the 17th of November, and you can find out and you can get reminded by visiting www.kindnessproject.co.uk, clicking book at the top, put your email address in, and we'll send you an email on the day it comes out. So that's plug done. And Justin Gaffney, thank you for your kind words, Justin. We love your father-daughter bond, and the chats are hilarious. Sharing kindness and interesting guests that do amazing things is great. And then Mike's just said, apparently you've insulted him, Charlotte. He's not happy with you. He said that's why Cassie needs a night out.
That doesn't make sense.
I don't.
What was the context of that message?
I don't know. The problem is I'm not reading it live. Russell is sending it to me via WhatsApp. And on that note, that's another episode of the Kindness Project. I've been Chris. That's been Charlotte.
Hi.
Have a lovely... What?
Hi.
Hi. Have a...
No, sorry, you said I was allowed to do a joke.
Have a lovely Saturday.
No.
No. What?
You said I was allowed to do a joke.
Go on then.
What do you call a factory that sells good products?
What do you call a factory that sells good products?
A satisfactory. I'm done now. You can.
What was? What? A satisfactory. Is that
a good product?
Is that how we're ending our first live in 2 years? With a joke like that.
I've got
Genuinely.
more. I've got more.
No more. On that note, thank you for joining the Kindness Project. Have a lovely Saturday. If you're listening to this on the podcast, hope you have a lovely week, and we'll see you soon on the Kindness Project. Bye.
Bye.